Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn, April 23rd is getting very close. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you guys smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing and fighting. Now, I made several videos about this in recent memory. They threw like a wild card name out, Ricky Burns, for Pacquiao. I did the video. Don't think that's going to happen. I think Ricky Burns may fight Ndongo, the guy that knocked out Troy Yanofsky. And it looks like Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn is getting close. Ego Rumor Mill, aka some sources are saying this might be announced. Like the parties involved, the camps met up in Los Angeles, and it sounds like this could go down. Not in the United States, but in Australia. Not in the United States, but in Australia. And I want to just give my thoughts about Pacquiao versus Jeffrey Horn. I can't stress this enough, and I gotta be completely honest. This is sad. Pacquiao, I take nothing away from him. He's a legend. He's done legendary things. But to go out like this and fight a Jeff Horn, and don't get it twisted. I don't know Jeff Horn. Like, I don't know him personally. I haven't really watched many of his fights. I've seen him before, but the only reason I looked him up was because he was being linked to Pacquiao, right? And that's sad to me, because Pacquiao, someone who's of elite legendary status, to be facing this level of competition. Now, the problem with boxing fans is the double standards, right? And I'm just going to put it out there. And a lot of times it happens to be certain fighters, certain skin tones, certain minorities, certain looks, whatever. And the double standards are apparent. Floyd Mayweather, undefeated 19 years, 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 19 years, beats Pacquiao, closes his contract with the two-time former champion, Andre Berto, a guy who's youthful, speed, power, and has since knocked out guys since the Mayweather loss, like Victor Ortiz, right? And I'm not bigging up Berto, shout out to my dude Berto AB, but that is more telling than a guy that the vast public has not ever heard of. No one has ever seen him. I don't even know if he's fought in the United States, to be honest. I really don't, because I think Randall Bailey went over there to Australia to fight him. My name is Jeff. And this is not to throw shade at Jeff Horn. He could be a great guy, a likable guy. He used to be a school teacher. Now he's a full-time boxer. He got punched in the throat. I know you guys, a lot of them don't know who he is, but Jeff Horn used to be a school teacher. Then he got into boxing as a form of self-defense. I think he was getting bullied or something. You know what I mean? Classic why I got into boxing story. In one of his fights, he got punched in the throat or something, and it did something to his larynx or trachea or whatever, and he had to have throat surgery, right? And I even seen interviews where they're like, hey, are you worried about getting punched in the throat again? And he was like, so far so good. I don't really worry about that. You can't really focus on that, which is the right attitude, but that's kind of crazy to know, you know what I'm saying? Everyone knows you have that type of, you know, you got punched in the throat and like, what if something freak happens? That's one thing, but that's extreme. Hopefully, you know what I mean, no one would try to exploit and punch someone in the throat knowing they have had throat surgery or whatever. But it's boxing, you know what I mean, punches graze and stuff like that. But aside from that, the thing is this, it's not even to throw shade at Jeff Horn, is I would like if he were to get the Pacquiao fight, despite rankings, because half of the sanctioning bodies, they rank who they want. I remember Amir Khan was ranked number 1 at welterweight, and he hadn't even moved up to welterweight, right? At the WBC, I think, ranked him number 1. So how does that work? You know what I'm saying? So rankings are good, but it's just like CompuBox. It doesn't necessarily, you could be ranked high. It doesn't mean, I think Troy Yanofsky was ranked the number 1 for Terrence Crawford with one of the sanctioning bodies, and he got knocked out in 1 round and hasn't really beat a significant name like a Gamboa, Victor Postol, or anybody like that. So rankings are great. Rankings are good. As a fighter, you would want to move up through the ranks. I get that. But that's not the end all be all. And when we're talking about someone as legendary as Pacquiao, it's just a shame to see this type of opponent selection. We all say this, but now all of a sudden people try to turn a blind eye to it. Boxing is a business. Therefore, guys like Mayweather, Pacquiao, Cotto, the guys that have done these things, they are at the tail end of their career. I get that. But that doesn't mean we should just accept any level of opponent, like a name we've never even heard of, because of what they've done. You know what I mean? Boxing is a sport of what have you done for me lately. And for the people who hated the fact that Floyd Mayweather fought Berto, look at the double standards. At the very least, we knew who Berto was. At the very least, we knew who he was. Point blank period. We knew Berto. We had seen the Victor Ortiz fight of the year and stuff like that, right? We can't really say the same with Jeff Horn. Most people in the States that I've talked to, they're like, who? Who the fuck is that? They don't know who Jeff Horn is. So to pick a guy who has never been really exposed on this side of the pond, you know what I mean? In the States, stateside, never been exposed. Don't even know if he's had a fight in the United States. And he's fighting him. And that's, keep in mind, this is coming off of the Jesse Vargas. Now, Vargas, you could at least say he's been in fights. He's fought notable guys, Khabib Alikverdiyev, Tim Bradley, but he lost that fight. But he was the champion, beat Saddam Ali. So you could at least use that. Even the Canelo Liam Smith, you could at least say, oh, many people don't know who Liam Smith is, but he's taller and he's a champion. Even if you thought he hadn't beat no one or whatever, he was at least a champion. But this Jeff Horn is not a champion. He's not really known. His name is not buzzing in the United States. And just to see these double standards is outright pitiful. I'm reading comments like, most people know what it is, but there's people out there still trying to justify it. They're like, oh, Pacquiao's a legend. Let him get his money. Let the Packster get his money. He deserves the money. He's a legend. But Floyd isn't. Floyd, that doesn't make, just because you don't like Floyd, that doesn't mean he's not a legend. You know what I'm saying? And how does Floyd beat Pacquiao, right? He beats Pacquiao, and it's not, for those same people, it's not just let Floyd get his money. Let him fight Berto, whoever he wants to close his Showtime contract. Let him get his money. He's a legend. It's not the same argument. So the double standards are just repulsive in the sport of boxing. You really have people trying to justify it. But let it be another fighter that they are not on the radical bandwagon of, and all of a sudden it's egregious. If Keith Thurman, when he picked Leonard Bundu, an Olympian, right? When that was selected, coming off of an injury, what did they say about Thurman? Oh, he's trash. He's fighting lightweights like Julio Diaz, and now he's fighting Bundu. Who's Bundu? Bundu. It sounds like a cinnamon roll. It's a fondue bun. You know what I'm saying? And they go out of their way to bash him. So look at any other fighter that you don't like let's say Deontay Wilder. He's coming back off an injury that was well publicized and documented. He's fighting a heavyweight, Andrzej Wawrski, with one loss to a guy who is arguably a cheater, and that's Alexander Povetkin. That's his only loss, and that's the comeback fight. And it's the heavyweight division where one punch really can change everything. I'm not talking Andrzej Wawrski up, right? I've seen him before. I've seen the Povetkin fight. I'm not saying he's the favorite to beat Deontay Wilder, but you got to know at this point, in the heavyweight division, one punch, I mean, when you're getting hit by a 6'6" dude who's 250, anything could happen. We've seen Wilder in tough fights with Johan Duhaupas and guys like Eric Molina. He got buckled. So shit happens, right? And listen to the comments. I've done videos. That's how I know, because I have a pretty good following on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And go to the Deontay Wilder, Andrzej Wawrski video. You'll see some of the same usernames that are now defending Manny Pacquiao, who has been fighting a certain level of opposition, barring Floyd Mayweather, right? And all of a sudden, it's okay. Let Pacquiao get his money. You know what I'm saying? So the double standards are just egregious. Pacquiao is a good fighter. He's a speedy fighter. That's why people want to see him challenge. He's in such a stacked division. Fights like this make no sense unless you are like an Errol Spence Jr. And the reason I say it's acceptable for him is because most people would agree that he doesn't have the legendary resume. He's not considered an all-time great at the moment. You know what I'm saying? He's building himself up the rank. The biggest names on his resume are Leonard Bundu and Chris Algieri, guys who have been beaten before, right? He's gunning for that slot to be considered a champion or be considered an all-time great. So he's still young in his career. He's 26 or whatever. So that's completely different. He's willing to face whoever he has to, be it Kell Brook, Konstantin Ponomarev, Jeff Horn, and he's trying to get higher ranking and eventually become a champion. We can't say that for Pacquiao. He's the only person in boxing history to be an 8 division world champion. He moved up all these weight classes and things like that. And to be in such a stacked division and with all these other great fights going on, like really look at it. Joseph Parker, Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, somebody's gotta go. Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton. That's a good fight, you know what I mean? Tank Davis getting a title shot against Jose Pedraza. You look at James DeGale versus Badou Jack, unification, right? Broner Granados even. He's coming off a little bit of layoff, and that's the style that is giving him problems. So stylistically, if you know anything about that fight, the Granados fight, that's still a threat because of what Broner does well and what he has as weaknesses. Plus, he's been on a little bit of layoff, suicide attempt and jail stints and stuff. So it's a good fight. But the Pacquiao fight, what has Jeff Horn done that would stipulate this type of fight that he's ready? And again, this is not to shit on Jeff Horn or throw shade. He sounds like a workman type fighter, a humble cat. But I would like to see at least a Victor Ortiz when he got the Berto win and then he got Floyd Mayweather. That makes sense to me because at least you had at least that one significant win that catapulted you into the Pacquiao sweepstakes. Maidana, aside from Broner, he has a good resume. Beat up Eric Morales and nailed his eyes shut. He had stopped Victor Ortiz when Ortiz was considered the golden boy and the next big prospect out of golden boy, big, strong kid, etc. And Maidana has been in there with the Kotelnicks, the Amir Khans and stuff before Broner, right? Then he beats Broner, and then that puts him on. He gets the Floyd fight because it was a viral type of fight. They were making Broner memes and stuff like that. Jeff Horn has not had any of those moments. When he fought Randall Bailey, a lot of people didn't even know that. You know what I mean? Cotto beat Randall Bailey years ago when he still probably had hair. That was probably when Cotto had hair. I got to research it, but that was before Cotto went bald, right? Devin Alexander, when he was champion, beat Randall Bailey, right? So Jeff Horn beating him, that's the best name on his whole resume. It doesn't really prove nothing. It doesn't prove you beating a 42-year-old doesn't even prove that you're ready for the elites like a Pacquiao, right? And it's just to see Pacquiao's career, it's almost like this is like a circus, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to pay Pacquiao's salary. I'm sure he gets money as a senator, right? But to milk the public by just putting, he's just like, it's like a farewell tour. Like, I'm just going to fight whoever in front of, you know what I mean? I understand if Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was doing something like that because he's been retired. So if he wants to have little exhibition fights and make money for charity or make money for this or to pay for fellow Mexican like fans or friends or whatever, that makes a little bit more sense. But Pacquiao is a champion now. He just beat Jesse Vargas for the WBO welterweight belt. And we're going to accept this from a champion only because he's a legend? Like, it doesn't make no sense. Because look at any other champion. What do you say to Danny Garcia? Oh, he's a cherry picker. Those are the same commenters. Oh, Garcia's a cherry picker. Garcia has a good resume. Under 30, very good resume. What do they say about Keith Thurman? What do they say about Errol Spence? Oh, he ain't fought nobody, right? But a champion, Pacquiao, based on his past accomplishments, he could just do whatever he wants. Now, I'll put the link in the description. Jeff Horn, he's doing an Australian boxing reporter is doing an interviewer. And he said, yeah, I asked you a while ago, I seen your fight with Randall Bailey. And then the last guy you fought, what's his name? The reporter had a brain freeze and couldn't think of Jeff Horn's last opponent. Link in the description. And he asked Jeff Horn, who's the last guy you fought? And Jeff Horn starts stuttering. He said, oh man. Jeff Horn couldn't even think of who he just knocked out. So that just tells me that he hasn't fought anybody of any type of consequence to the point where it catapulted him into a Pacquiao fight, right? And it's just sad. Like, even the Jesse Vargas, I didn't really want to see that fight. But you can at least say, since moving up to welterweight, he fought Bradley, almost hurt him, had that freak little premature stoppage, you know what I mean? So some controversy there about how it ended prematurely before the bell. And then he beat an undefeated Olympian in Saddam Ali, and he was taller. So you can at least say those things about him. That was a good win for Jesse Vargas's career. He had a new team and coach and stuff. You could at least say that. Timothy Bradley, when he got the Pacquiao fight the first time, he had cleaned out 140 besides Amir Khan. He had pretty much beat everybody who was relevant at the time, right? We cannot say that with Jeff Horn. He didn't even know who he fought in his last fight. He couldn't even name the guy. Link in the description. Don't take my word for it. So it's just crazy to me. And another thing is, why do you think Bob Arum is a smart businessman in the sense of he's not dumb. He's going to make executive decisions. He knows what type of fight he is. That's why he knew he could not pay Pacquiao a guaranteed $20 million to fight Jesse Vargas, because he knew it wasn't going to sell like that, and it would probably take an even bigger cut if you give him that much of a salary. So that's why in the Bradley 3 fight, Pacquiao got $20 million, and then that was scaled back for Jesse Vargas. Like, man, you're not putting up the same numbers, right? And the same thing with this fight with Jeff Horn, which it looks like it will happen. Ego rumor mill, so we'll see. But all signs point to it being Jeff Horn. And the thing is, why do you think they won it in Australia? Why would the champion be traveling? You know what I'm saying? Why would normally, I would say 8 out of 10 times the champion doesn't travel. You know what I mean? Maybe if you're Sergey Kovalev, he travels to Canada or to Las Vegas to fight Ward. But by and large, a lot of times the champion gets to defend at least their first title defense on their own soil. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not give the other person hometown advantage. But why do you think they want to make this fight in Australia? It's because they know it will not sell in the United States. Put this in the MGM where Pacquiao fought Bradley, right, 3 times, and see what type of numbers he does. That's why Pacquiao's fighting these Chris Algieri's and the fights we don't want to see in Macau, China, or in Australia. Because for Australia, that's good for Australian citizens to get to see a legend. You know what I'm saying? So they're just going to gouge the Australian because they've never had Australia. I don't know. I've never been to Australia. Maybe I should go to cover this fight. But I've never been to Australia, but I know they haven't had, you know what I mean? New Zealand just had its first ever heavyweight champion in Joseph Parker. So I know in Australia they haven't had any big fights with a name like a Pacquiao. So people might turn out just to see that, just because it's just like Golovkin, except that was at least a better fight. Golovkin versus Kell Brook. That was the UK fans' chance to see Golovkin, who doesn't always fight in the UK. So if you want to see that, then you go to it. So it's just a way to gouge the public in Australia because they haven't had a fight of that magnitude. I mean, who are their stars? Anthony Mundane. You know what I'm saying? There's not that many guys who are just. And he hasn't been in big fights. It's not like Anthony Mundane versus Floyd Mayweather in Australia. So they know what they're doing in terms of placing it somewhere where it'll be more of a rarity that fans get to see Pacquiao. So they'll probably spring to just to get to see their hometown fighter. And again, this is not to throw shade to Jeff Horn. It looks like it's not his fault for his career. I blame the boxing politics and promotion for putting together a fight like this. You know what I mean? And then if Pacquiao blows Horn out of the water, how much credit are we going to give him? Oh, he's a legend, he can just fight whoever. No, I'm not trying to see that. But I mean, you know me, I like a good underdog story. Good luck to Jeff Horn. I hope he wins. I hope he does great in the fight. Just because boxing needs to learn all these daring to be greats. Amir Khan moving up way past his limits, and you know what I mean, doesn't even have the best chin at 35, 40, moving up to fight Canelo with no rehydration, then later complaining that Canelo weighed 185, 190, Kell Brook and Golovkin. Boxing, Liam Smith, Canelo, all these fights. I asked this in a video. I did a video called Dare to Be Great, and then I'm out of here. Is this: when will the daring to be great pay off for the underdog? Like all these supposed mismatches, and a lot of people want to blame Floyd Mayweather. Each person is their own individual. You can't blame. That's like if my YouTube channel goes to shit, I can't blame another person's YouTube channel. That falls on me. You know what I'm saying? But people want to blame Floyd. Oh, Floyd made this blueprint. No, you don't have to. Just because someone laid out a blueprint, if that's how you really feel, doesn't mean you have to follow it. But again, when is this daring to be great gonna pay off? When are we gonna see the Jeff Horn, the massive underdog, beat the favorite, right? Or the Kell Brook, who's moving up 2 divisions? When are we gonna see that? A Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard type of episode? So let me know what you guys think. But Ego rumor mill, looks like the fight's close. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
Seriously, I mean, if the journalists actually did some real investigating journalism, you know, they say that they've agreed to everything. What? Let's just say, is he coming out in the blue corner or the red corner? Is it Michael Buffer? Is it Jimmy Lennon? Who's coming out first? Who's getting announced first? I mean, come on, seriously, really? I mean, it's so transparent. It's almost clumsy, and I think it's really disrespectful to parade Manny through all these trivial radio sites to sit there and call out Mayweather. You know, it's sad. I mean, it's deceptive, and to me it's just straight lying that what Bob Arum is doing, and it's to me it's revolting that the fans have to sit there and get their hopes up for something that doesn't exist. Well, you know, Chavez Sr. said it too. If Bob Arum wasn't involved, I mean, you have to go back and look at history. You know, you look at Oscar De La Hoya. He had to get away from Bob to get the big fights. You look at Miguel Cotto. You look at Floyd Mayweather. Now you're looking at Julio Chavez Jr., Mikey Garcia. I mean, you have to look at the history of this guy who's known for not being honest, not being truthful, and Julio's been on the shelf for a year. Mikey Garcia's been on. I mean, he has absolutely no heart about the fact that these guys are fighters that have to feed their families. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. But you know what? You guys perpetuate it because you write the same vomit that he spews, and you guys lick it up and you write it instead of asking the hard questions. You know, what do you agree to? What have you done? You're telling us everything, but you're showing us nothing. You know? You know, you guys, I mean, that's your guys' job. Do some of ask the hard questions. Or get together and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to write your bullshit anymore because we don't believe you. Because I'm telling you, I thought we had until the end of the month. Now they're saying that we're what did I say in November? We're fighting, Manny's fighting Jesse Vargas, and we're fighting somebody else on May 2nd. It'll be, you know, then in November it'll be Manny versus Mikey Garcia, and then get used to Mikey Garcia 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and whatever. All I know is that Floyd wants this fight more than ever. That this is something that he's pushing, he's trying, but it's impossible to work with Bob. With Bob, it's smoke and mirrors, it's misdirection. We say a bunch of this over here, but behind the doors, you know, he's never going to let it happen. He owes 4 more fights to the Venetian. He pocketed $120 million from the Venetian. You know, I don't know if Manny saw any of that money. So there's no way he can take the. How about the simple things? Is there a rematch clause? But you guys are the ones who have to sit there and ask the hard questions and say, you know what? We're not going to write your bullshit until you start showing us some proof. Got to get together, organize yourselves, and say, hey, listen, Bob, you know, we call bullshit.
What do you think he's going to say when he sees this video? Knowing Bob, what do you think he's going to say?
He's out of his mind. He's a promotional nightmare. You know, I don't know what he's going to say. You know, he's got one foot on a banana peel, another one taking a dirt nap. I mean, and that's the only way we're going to wait until hopefully these two guys get together and fight. Look, Manny's a politician. You know, that's his job. That's what he does. He knows politics. Call the dude up on the phone the same way he called you. The same way I would call you and say, hey, listen, man to man, bullshit aside, let's meet at Denny's. Write up what you want. Let's put our paper on it. Let's go on media. Boom, hand in hand, and say, hey, listen, we're together on this. Let's make it happen. Like they call it twib note, man. Look at 4 years ago, Manny's not afraid of needles. He's never been afraid of needles. Bob made that shit up to make sure that the first fight didn't happen.